Thankfully, my guest tonight is a tech whiz bang, and he was able to get everything all straightened out for us. So hopefully some of you will be able to join us live tonight. And if not, you can catch it later on. But I do have a special guest tonight, my good friend, Carlos Peguero, all the way down in Florida. Nice and warm down there compared to Toledo, Ohio here. It's definitely winter up here. So how you doing tonight, Carlos?
I am doing good, man. Sorry about that. I was on a had to myself. I'm doing good. Sorry about the whole technical difficulties. Nate is a trooper and he's learning a lot right now, but sometimes software gets in the way of us actually being able to do these things as smooth as possible.
Exactly.
I'm good. Thank you.
Yeah, well, I'm glad that you could join me tonight. I'm very excited, and we're just kind of doing a hangout tonight. You know, thought it would be cool for folks to be able to get to know a little bit about you, and so kind of just doing this freestyle tonight. You know, so tell us a little bit about Carlos and what you're doing, and then we'll go into more about how everything got started for you.
Sure. So, I'm doing great. I can't complain too much. I have a good life. You know, we have our ups and we have our downs. But as far as how I got into this whole mess, I got into it, I would say, as far as Biblical Earth, I got into it the way I would say a lot of people got into it. I guess I do take pride in saying that I was one of the early birds in the whole aspect of it. I didn't post videos until 2016 though. I took my time really trying to learn exactly what was going on. So somewhere in around 2014, 2013, I was doing research on Nephilim. I remember hearing the word Nephilim and it struck the chord with me. It was like I could feel, be impressed upon, like, you need to research this word, find out what it means. Yeah, so I felt very pressed upon to do the research on Nephilim. Obviously, when you start doing research on Nephilim, you come across, the same handful of people, and with that came, being introduced to Rob Skiba, everybody knows, and following his work, spending hours of listening some of his teachings, and going back and forth between other people. It wasn't just Rob Skiba, but building a rapport as far as saying, man, I can trust for the most part that this guy knows what he's talking about. So I got to the point where, after a few months of really digesting a lot of Nephilim research and him being one of the front runners as far as leading the way in that arena, I built some trust with him. So around early 2014, something like that, I came across a video talking about flat earth, and I remember listening to it for like a good hour, and I was like, but I couldn't figure out what they were talking about at the time. So it was more like, why is this, what am I really listening to? And the YouTube algorithm was like suggesting it to me. So at the time I was just digging in, just trying to learn as much research I could on Nephilim and just other topics like that, the fallen angels and all that stuff.
That was back when the algorithm, was sweet. Now of course they're messing with it.
Exactly. So when that all transpired, I remember getting to a point in the video where it finally said the word flat earth, and I was like, oh my God, I just listened to an hour and a half of a video and this guy's a flat earth. I was like, oh man, forget it. And I turned it off, and it was, I couldn't listen to it no more. And I just remember it was a seed planted. Really, that's what happened, was a seed planted, because a few months later, still burning for fire and really digging in deep into the word, I come across a Rob Skiba video on Now You See TV, and it says, flat earth. And I was like, no, why, Rob? Why, man? I liked you. I loved your work. And then obviously I was like, I had that knock in the heart that was like, listen, you know he does good work. Just hear him out. And it was like, all right, I'm gonna just give it a try and let's see what happens.
Nice.
Oh, I didn't get too far into the video before it started making a lot more sense than I thought. Again, I didn't want to admit it to myself, but I knew what he was saying was true. I knew that the equations were right. I knew that water was always level and you can see too far because I live in Florida, and I know I can see for miles and miles and miles. So that put me on the research. Like, all right, I got to figure. Let's find some more flat earth material. And for about 6 or 7 months, I was just digging in deep. I would say I believed early on, but I still didn't want to fully accept it and be outspoken about it. Now, during this whole time, I already had a background in doing YouTube videos because I have like a technology background that I do. I have unboxings and all this stuff. So I learned how to utilize Photoshop. I learned how to utilize Premiere Pro. I learned how to work with cameras. Like, I learned all this stuff. And when it came down to it, after I was really like, no, you know what, it is. And I got to be a part of this community to help out, make some informative and well done videos. And at the time, and it wasn't a whole lot. It was like, honestly, it was Rob Skiba. It was, what's his name? I'm drawing a blank with him. RV, Russian Vids.
Oh yeah,
Vids was going hard at it. I would see a couple of Jaren videos here and there. And then my favorite one was ODD. ODD was just like, he was on a whole different level. And I knew
he was killing it.
Yeah, I knew I could be at a level, similar as far as the video production. So that's what the few months were really about, where I was just trying to learn the information. So when I did decide to make a video, it wouldn't just be a regular video, it would be more of a documentary. And then I had guys like D13, Now You See TV. There was just a whole bunch of, like, it was a smaller core at that point. And I was learning all this stuff. I was learning about Freemasonry. I was learning all this stuff. But obviously, flat earth, biblical earth was really like, it was like that big one that just captured everybody's attention. And I was nervous to do it, but I just felt like the Lord just told me, like, hey man, I didn't give you the ability to do all this editing and all this graphic work for nothing. Like, this is what I was leading you to at the end of the day. So I couldn't resist. I had to put my 2 cents into it. And I made my first 2 videos were just like 2 documentaries. Like, you could look in my channel and you'll see it. And I did a compilation after like a year. I did a compilation where I combined the 2, and it was just, it was a flat earth documentary. One was just like getting you into the process of, could this be true? And if it is, like, I'm not trying to convert you. I'm just trying to open your eyes to the possibility. And the second one became more of the scientific, like, look at this is, 8 inches per mile square type stuff. Had a bunch of videos, and then I was able to just put it into a nice forum for people. And they did pretty good. They did get like shut down at one point where it was like, it was a nice steady incline. And then all of a sudden it was like, poof, you just saw no activity. And obviously YouTube was doing what it was doing. But it was enough to get, some people to recognize me and stuff like that, which was nice. And I've been trying to do videos here and there. I've been trying to experiment with different avenues of how to create videos. Like, I would do vlog here and there. I would, I did more than just flat earth, but obviously 90% of the content is going to be biblical earth related. So what I started to realize was like, okay, I'm not getting the attention that I see other people getting, and I'm not going to let that get to me. What I'm going to do is I'm going to offer those people who are putting in the time. A lot of them don't have the graphic technology. And when I say that, guys, I'm not no graphic expert. I have the tip of the iceberg is my knowledge when it comes to this stuff. But I try to challenge myself in certain areas, and
Mm.
I try to give back to certain people in the community, just so their content can be what's heard and not like what's not heard. um I'll try to I'll try to show somebody like how to use a mic. I'll try to make a banner for them. I'll try to just give,
Oh yeah.
clean up their channel a little and a little. So that's what I kind of do in the background, when, even though you won't see videos popping out left and right on a weekly basis. That's what
Yeah,
I'm
you're
doing
pretty
in the
busy doing
background.
a lot of different things.
Yeah, yeah. And I have multiple channels. And then obviously when you're doing this, you get to a point where you kind of get exhausted of the having to fight with people every day. You're trying to help them out and they're trying to call you idiot and the moron and all this stuff. And you're just trying to help them see what most people can. I get it. I get it. It's not an easy thing
Right.
to deal with, but that's what I end up. Sometimes I go away from the whole conspiracy aspect of YouTube, because sometimes I just want to play a video game because I just need to unwind, get my head out of it.
Yeah.
And then when I make a videos, a lot of times it's like when I really feel led to talk about a certain specific subject, or it just hits me and I'm like, okay, there. I try not to force it. I don't feel like I have to be that guy who has to make a video, 4 times
Yeah.
a week in order to keep the audience going. I just feel like whenever I can, I'm going to put a good video that's been well researched. And then, if it's 30 minutes, 30 minutes, if it's 5 minutes, it's 5 minutes. It's just, I try to share what I learned at the same time and just
Yeah.
give back here and there.
No, that's cool. I can definitely attest. Carlos has a good heart, and he's more than willing to help folks. In fact, I was excited when he emailed me a couple of banners. He was like, "Hey, I made this up for you," and he's like, "It's up to you if you want to use it. I won't be offended." But he's like, "Check it out," and I was like, "Man, this is awesome." So then I had to spend a few minutes remembering how to change my banner. But once I got that up, it was awesome, and he's helped me with some icons and different things. And Carlos made the fire intro for me for my new video, so I'm really excited about that. It's awesome. I'm really enjoying it, and he schooled me last week on OBS Studios, 101, and I was able to pull off a couple of videos and a live stream this last week through OBS with no help. So that tells you that Carlos is a good teacher. And thankfully, I remembered some of the things that he taught me. So, yeah, we need more folks like Carlos, in this community who are givers, because as some of you know, there are a few takers out there, probably more givers than takers. But so yeah, man, I appreciate everything you've done for me and my channel, and hopefully I'll be able to pass some of that along and help some other folks. And so excited about learning new things. I'm not an old dog, I'm a middle-aged dog, but I still need to learn new tricks, right?
I mean, everybody has the opportunity to learn. That's the great thing about this. It's one of those things that we just you have to know what you're good at, and when your time comes, like what you're able to do for. Because yeah, you would think someone has a lot of ability in certain areas would grow faster, but that's not the case. God might not want you there, and I've come to terms with that. Like, yeah, I might not get 100,000 subscribers in the channel, but I'll help the guy who does, and I'll keep him going, and I'll keep him succeeding. And the people who who know that, they know it in the background. I don't need to be a face in the community. I could work in the background and help people out here and there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's why I just try to do. I don't try to do too much. I don't try to. Like I say, I make videos when I can. Being a family man and having a full-time job and having other interests, I try to divide it as much as I can to different aspects of what I do as far as YouTube. and
Yeah, and you
just
were
go from there.
pretty successful. Was it a month to almost 2 months ago when you went on vacation? You were able to really enjoy some time with your family, but at the same time, you took some video, and then when you came back, you were able to share about the trip. So it was cool. You know, you got to spend time with family, and at the same time, you had some awesome content.
Yeah, I still have a whole bunch of stuff that I just haven't gotten around to it. And that's part of it. Sometimes I get in my own way and I just like I want things so perfect that the way I see it in my head, if I'm not able to put that kind of energy behind it, then sometimes I just don't end up making the video. And it's part of it. That's my fault. I just got to get out of my own way sometimes, just start working on it. Because it's just like, once you're, once you make videos, you know how much time it takes. It's not as
Mm.
easy as just turning on the camera and then starting to talk. Sometimes it could be that easy, but most of the time it doesn't always work out that way. And there's a lot of stuff
Yeah,
that happens that you have to be ready for, and that's how you learn. It's like this live stream
yeah.
today. We were supposed to start at 8 o'clock, and yeah, that didn't happen, right?
Yeah, but I was telling Carlos in the hangout before we went live, I said, well, hey, man, I know we're having a lot of little glitches we have to troubleshoot and work out. But I said, I'm actually learning a lot through this process because we had to try several different things. And then everything fell into place. So it was positive for me, at least, because I was learning more things again.
Yeah, it's working out, and that's why I'm glad that we're able to still do this.
Yeah,
Um, so yeah, it's stuff like that. That's more or less the condensed version of my testimony as far as how I came
cool.
into flat Earth and how I came to uh to learn all this stuff.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, why don't you? We'll let you share a couple more things about tech before we wrap up tonight. But I wanted to see if you would share with us a little bit about your day-to-day skill that you use. I was blessed to be able to watch Carlos in action at his day job, and he was helping me with some tech stuff, and we were on a FaceTime, and he was working. He was multitasking, man. He's a talented dude. But if you don't mind sharing a little bit about that, because I think a lot of people would think that's very cool.
so my 9 to 5, I guess, if that's what you want to
Yeah,
call it.
yeah.
So what I do, I'm a barber, and I've been cutting hair since I was probably 10, 11 years old. I
Wow.
just somehow, you know, I got to the point where I was cutting hair and then cutting all my friends' hair, cutting my hair, even when, that's when I had it. And it's definitely one of those things where when you do something like that at a young age, and I would say that it took me about a week and a half to actually learn how to cut hair. And I didn't realize how like that's not normal. So it was one of those things that like it was a God-given gift. And
Nice.
all through middle school and high school, I was cutting hair here and there, and then that was like my little side hustle. I would cut people's hair, charge them $5, $7, $10, as things progressed. And I was really an athlete my whole life. I still
Yeah.
think of myself but I'm a little overweight now, so it's not as easy. But
Hey, man, I feel you. I feel you on that.
but I played basketball my whole life. I had a scholarship. I played 2 years in a junior college.
Oh, wow.
And I got to the point where I realized, like, okay, well, I got to as far as I could in it, and then I just, what am I gonna do now? Well, I always felt I knew I could fall back on cutting hair. So
Mm,
when I got done with school, I decided to I was looking for jobs everywhere. No one wanted to hire me, and now looking back, obviously that's God's plan. He was like, "No, I'm not going to open that door so you can
yeah.
work at a normal job when I gave you a skill since you were young. Let's use
Mm-hmm.
that skill now." So I went to barber school, got my license, and that's that's how I feed my family. I cut hair for a
Nice.
living. So yeah, one day me and Nate were on a phone call. We're trying to troubleshoot some stuff, and I had my phone on a little car mount, this right on the glass, so he was able to see me while I was talking him through stuff. Um, yeah, so I do that, and what's cool about that is is that learning a lot of this stuff, learning biblical earth, learning Nephilim, learning 9/11, learning all these conspiracies that
Mm,
aren't really conspiracies, but they're true once you actually take the time to research. I share all that stuff. I have somebody in my chair for 15, 20 minutes, sometimes longer, depending on what we're going to do. And they get nowhere to go. And
nice.
like, I don't want to brag or nothing, but like, you know, in my area, you're not going to get a better haircut than sitting in my chair. I've been doing it for so
Oh,
long,
I could
right?
see that, man. I could see. I mean, Carlos is like, really doing an awesome job on this back of this dude's head. And and he was also like looking at the camera and, giving me pointers. And he didn't even skip a beat, man. And the guy in the chair didn't seem nervous at all. In fact, I wonder what he was, what was going through his mind. Like, who's this guy talking to? What is he doing? But yeah, I thought it was very cool, man. I could tell that this is something that you're gifted in. It's not just a job for you, And I like, yeah, you got that awesome apron. It's like it's a manly apron, man. Ain't no baking cookies up in there.
uh, so yeah, it's like I like, again, I do stuff behind the scenes. I don't record everything. I know that if I did, like, showing smack flack, what do they call it?
Flat smacking.
Yes, flat
Yeah.
smacking people. I could have like 50 more videos, right? And probably a ton of views and stuff. But I just want people, when I get them in my chair and I honed my skills enough doing that, while I'm talking to them, realizing like, oh, you sound like a moron. Let's bring it back. Let's get it more simpler, right? And then once I was able to like narrow down how not gonna convince you, but make you aware, then by the time I'm done with the conversation,
Yeah.
you're gonna know the truth. And let's just say I've converted a lot of people, a lot of my clients, a lot of random people.
Nice.
Just because this is the one thing that the people who just can't see it don't understand is, and why this truth has grown so much, it's because it's actually really simple to understand.
Yes.
Like, the knowledge of water always, when at rest, always being level. Like, I can show an example. I'll have a cup and I'll be like, oh, here, check it out, right? Here's a cup, and that's how water acts. You've seen it your whole life. You know it. You live in Florida, bro. How many times have you seen downtown Miami from 40 miles away? You shouldn't be able to see even the tallest building.
Yes.
And then it's just common sense stuff, repetition, telling them. And then because they're in my chair, I have gadgets everywhere. I'll take my phone out. I'll be like, here, watch this video. Put it, give them headphones and be like, here's ODD 5 minutes, flat earth in 5 minutes, boom.
Oh yeah.
And then let me know what you think. And I'm telling you, the conversion rate is like 98%. It's almost 100%, because you just have to break through that barrier, that pride barrier that tells them like, no, this is stupid. Of course it sounds stupid, but once I make one point that makes sense to you, that breaks everything. The wall that breaks real quick. So it's fun. It's fun. I don't have as many opportunities. I feel like I've talked to so many people that they already know. But every once in a while I feel that tug, like, hey, open them up. But I remember early on, it wasn't so easy. It was like, hey man, you ever thought about it was like I was awkward.
No, it's just like it's as smooth as your razor and your scissors on the back of their head.
Yeah, it took a little while, and a lot of it has to do with your confidence. Like, in the beginning, I wasn't confident. I didn't know how. It was like knowing two languages, right? Imagine knowing Spanish but not being able to speak it, but you couldn't fluently understand it. That's what flat Earth apologetics is like for a lot of people. They watch so many videos. Oh, they know what they're listening to is truth, and they know how everything that person said was right, but they don't know how to express it. So when you go to your family and you're like, hey, Earth is flat, and they're like, what? You're like, watch this 2-hour documentary. Nobody has time for that, right? They're like, no, I don't got time. But once you deal with that enough, you start realizing like, okay, I got to break it down like a little bit more simpler than this. Than having to watch a 2-hour documentary. You have to be like, why would it make it? Why would they lie? You know, you start breaking through those little things, and the next thing you know, you have this little formula that, you know, every time they have that, but you're like, boom, this is why. Or have
Yeah.
you ever thought about this? I don't claim to have all the answers, because I don't. By far, I don't. But I have enough of them that puts the seed for them to later on be like, wow, you know, maybe maybe it is flat, you know.
Sure.
And it's always
Well,
cool to get somebody to come back and be like, yo, you know, you were right, man. That's crazy. I can't believe it. Like, you had me thinking all night. And then there's people I talk to that they're like, yeah, it's flat, but it doesn't matter. Literally, they don't care.
yeah.
They're moving, you know, and they're like, I don't
Well,
want to
have
talk
you
about
ever
this
had
anymore.
anybody like come back a little early for your haircut because they couldn't wait to, you know, chat some more about flat Earth?
I have a couple clients that they're like, yo, it's crazy. Once you become that guy, like, I'll
Yeah.
have a couple clients that'll come up to me every time they sit down. They're like, tell me something new, man. Tell me something new. I want to learn something new. I'm like, yo, that's it, right on. You know, here's Nephilim research. Here's, you
Nice.
know, the most important one obviously is trying to get
They're-
them to understand why
yeah.
all this is happening in the first place and who's behind it. And, you know, are you ready to meet your maker? Is Yeshua your Lord and Savior? Or because to me, it doesn't matter. To me, it's a gate. It's a key that I can open to eventually get them to understand, like, you know, at the end of the day, I don't care if you know the earth is flat or not, you know, that's cool and everything. But if you don't got a relationship with Christ, then it means nothing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's a really great point. And, you know, I think God uses many different things in people's lives to get their attention, right? Or to refocus them. And, you know, once people start to understand that what the true biblical creation is,
Yeah.
they typically then will say, okay, if the creation is true from the Bible, that means the creator is true. And if the creator is true, then I need to deal with Jesus Christ, you know, like I need to, what's my relationship with the creator, you know, and then of course, as they get deeper and deeper, they realize that Jesus Christ is the creator, you know. And so all these different things just kind of come together and deepen people's faith. You know, in my situation, of course, I had been saved for many, many years, had been preaching and teaching for over 20 years. And the flat earth revelation, what it really did for me was to help me understand how close God was, you know.
Yep.
And he wasn't at the edge of an ever expanding, you know, universe. He wasn't in some, you know, secret realm somewhere that's just kind of ethereal. You know, up is up and heaven is up, and he's on his throne and he's looking down on, you know, men to see who, you know, to see who acknowledges him. And so that did something special for me just in my own personal relationship. And I have to say, you know, I think it's helped me in just my, you know, my daily Christian walk and being able to resist sin. I still have sin. I still struggle, you know, with sin and temptation every day, like anybody does. But I tell you what, when you realize that He is much closer than where science tried to put Him, you know, it definitely it gets you thinking about stuff. But so yeah, that's awesome. I mean, the big thing I'm taking away from what you're doing at your work and using your skills is to plant those seeds. And like you said, if you can just get them to consider one or two simple points, you know, that they can, like the water level, okay, they can see that, they've seen it their whole life. All of a sudden, the next time they go out there, you know, they're feeding the seagulls French fries or something, and they're just like, oh my goodness, like it's flat, you know. So that's really cool, man. I appreciate you sharing that because I thought it was neat. And didn't you say at one time you had like a live camera of your skills there at the barbershop?
Yeah, I mean, I have, like I said, I have multiple channels. I have a tech channel, I have a gaming
Nice.
channel, I have a barber channel, and then I have my, you know, my truth channel, my, you know,
Yeah.
I'll say that to me, I consider that more my main channel, even though I have
Hmm.
way more subscribers than in some of the other channels.
Yeah.
But because I just feel this is much more important.
Cool.
you know.
So yeah, for those that are watching live and even later on, if you want to check out some of Carlos's other channels, go to his main YouTube channel, as we call it. It's just Carlos Peguero, and I know if you click on his videos, he's got some links in there to some of his other channels. So if you want to check out some of that barbershop action, or even some, if you're a tech head, hey, check out his tech channel as well. And real quick, it just reminded me what you said earlier, where God had provided skills for you and before you even had any idea that you'd be doing truth videos, right?
Yeah.
And I feel the same way, because not that I think that my 26 years in ministry was wasted up until flat earth, but I recognize now that all of my study time, my Bible research, my speaking and preaching abilities, and just being comfortable in those things, that all of that came before I found out about these truths, so that when I got fired and realized that, man, I need to do this full time, is to the best of my abilities, I realized the connection. I'm like, yeah, man, he prepares us in advance for things that we don't even know are possible.
Oh, definitely. And that's one of the things is like the the key is recognizing that, once you recognize that, the rest of the pieces start falling into place.
Yeah,
And that's the key, like everybody has a calling, and some people obviously you look at and you're like, man, their calling seems awesome. And then
yeah,
you look at yours and you always want to compare it. You just really have to you really just have to accept what he wants for you, and that might change.
yeah,
Maybe he's prepping your heart so that you know, you can better be ready for some of the challenges that comes with having
yeah.
people's eyes on you. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah,
So it's one of those things that like I feel like he always brings it back. He always keeps me humble. You know what I mean? I don't ever want to feel like I know it all. I want to feel like I can share as much as I've learned. But
yeah,
this is a constant thing. This is a constant. Uh, it's a constant day in day out grind, and you just have to be willing and ready for that time to come that you're ready to share, or you know be at somebody else's calling so that you can help them.
yeah. Yeah, that's true. And we did mention that one of your channels is tech. So put you on the spot, but I know you do this a lot with different folks you've helped, so it's not really putting you on the spot. But if you had to say, what are the top three basic things that anybody who has a YouTube channel or is starting a YouTube channel
Mhm.
and just doesn't have the background and the training or the interest that you have, what are like the top three things that you would suggest to them to be aware of, just to help optimize, the viewer's experience?
So I'm gonna add a fourth one, and the fourth
Okay,
one
sweet.
is gonna be number one, which is patience. You're not gonna learn this in one day. It takes time, repetition.
Mm,
It took me 4 years to be ready to make a flat Earth channel.
mm,
That's how I look at it. It took me 4 years to learn what this camera means. Like, why does this camera have a microphone on top of? What kind of microphone is this? Why is this microphone used over something else?
mm,
What's the settings that you want for a camera like this? How long is the battery gonna last? Like, what lens? Oh, this has an interchangeable lens. Like, why does this lens do that another lens doesn't do? It took a
mm.
long time for me to figure that stuff out.
Yeah,
But in doing so, I had so much knowledge that I was able to apply to this truth, which is, the way people talk about how you shouldn't be able to see stars. They'll try to make the excuses is, well, the camera's kind of set for this exposure. So, and I get it. That's actually a good answer. But in today's day and age where cameras can do much more, um way better exposures,
mm,
giving you, I mean, your iPhone can give you great dynamic range, and it can, I could take a picture at night with my iPhone and I can see stars, and I can see a bright light, street light.
Mm-hmm.
So why is my iPhone able to do it, but you guys keep saying this, $53 million a day budget you guys have, you guys just can't come up with the right equipment? It's like, it's not an excuse no more.
Yeah.
Learning how to use doing graphic design and stuff taught me, when I see what they call a photo, I could say that's not a photo. I could make that in Photoshop right now. That's an image, and then seeing the way they word stuff, they won't say photo no more. They won't even say CGI. Now their new term is image, because most people don't realize that an image is not a photo. An image is something that you create. So what they have done throughout the years is just word it in a way that most people don't understand what's right in front of their face.
Yeah, it becomes a subtle deception, right? And technically, they also have to do that, I think, because of the laws. They don't want to be sued for saying it's a picture, right?
Mm-hmm. And that's what people don't get. We don't have a snapshot of the earth. There's not like me just going like this, taking my photo and taking a snapshot. We don't have a single snapshot of the earth. We don't have a single video of the earth rotating while the clouds are morphing. There's none of that. It's always some sort of composite imaging that they do in order to achieve what they consider an image of the earth. And that was one of the biggest keys for me, is realizing, like, wait a second, we don't have it's 2016. We don't have a photo of I'm like, what is going on here? Like, this is not, no way. So that was,
and with all the, the Hubble telescope and all these other deals, like, you couldn't turn that thing around for 5 minutes, and get the perfect shot of the true Earth. You couldn't get close-ups of the moon. All this stuff.
And the way I talk to people is like, well, you'll start going on. Then they're like, fine. What about the other space agencies? Like, all right, so our whole life, we look at one side of the moon. We see one face. But every time they so-called go there, like China goes, they don't go to the face that you've seen your whole life. You want to go behind it? What is that? It should be exploring what you've seen your whole life. It doesn't even make sense to me that you're going to be like, I want to see what's on the other side. I get it. You can go there after you've seen what's on the front. But obviously, a deception like this, we know that the reason why they do that is so our P900s, P1000s can't zoom in and see they're not really there. Because if they say we're going to be on this crater, everyone knows where that crater is and be like, oh, yeah, there's activity there. But guess what? That's never going to happen. So, they have to,
and of course then just for extra measure, they throw in the whole, we're going to plant some potatoes on the dark side of the moon.
When you can't see nothing grow. It's just like when we could see it now, because it's like the scales have been lifted. And one of the cool things, one of the amazing things, like, I love about this is that, like, a new believer, when all of a sudden you understand who Jesus is, and you realize, like, oh my God, like, wow, it's the same thing that's happening in this movement. They're seeing the scales come down. They realize, like, wow, this is crazy. And one of the things he's doing is he's not just using believers. He's using non-believers. He's making their testimony and data. And I'm not saying non-believers as far as like just being a part, being a Christian and not like, hardcore atheists come, and yet they still don't want to believe in the Christian God, right? Because there's this stigmatism behind that. But they're hardcore flat earthers. And when the time comes, if they haven't made that real decision, that's going to be part of the judgment that falls on them. It's like, look, you had every tool. This guy didn't want to believe. You believed, and you still didn't want to go to the full extent of, who my son was. I wish that more people would, the passion that they have for flat Earth is they put that towards, studying the word.
Sure.
Actually getting in there and really challenging, because a lot of people don't realize that there's been roadblocks placed in parts of the Bible the way it's been taught to us, so that when you get there, it turns you away, it turns you off, and makes you say, no, this is, this is controlled. But you have to get past that. You have to look
Mm,
further into what really the Bible's saying. You can't just get stuck at a point and realize like, oh, this is too much for me. I can't get it. And like that was just like the ball earth. It was placed in there
mm,
to give you a certain perception of what life is. And once you move that ball and you realize like, nope, that's not a ball. It's a
yeah.
flat stationary plane. And one of the things that I love about not love about one of the sayings that I love the most, and it comes from from Jeranism. And I even made a shirt from it. I love it because I had to really sit back and think. And he said it was this simple, but if you actually think about it, it's really powerful. The earth is all there is.
Mm.
And the first time I heard him say, I'm like, yeah, that sounds good. But one day I was just like laying in bed and I was thinking about it. Like, I was like, wait a second, man, you know how powerful that is? Like, the earth is all there isn't anything more than the earth. There's not more, there's not
Yeah.
more planets. There's not more. The earth is all there is, and everything
Yeah.
is made for it. The stars revolve around it. The sun, moon
Oh
are
yeah.
clocks that.
We see that so clearly in scripture, and the funny thing is Bill Nye, Bill Nye also basically said what Jaron already had said. He said, at talking to the young people on camera, he said, what I really want your generation to understand is that the earth is a closed system.
Yep.
He said, there's nowhere to go. I'm surprised he didn't catch a bullet in the back of the head after that interview for saying that.
Yeah.
But then, of course, there's the whole, hidden in plain sight. And sometimes they do disclose stuff to the public because then they can say, hey, we told you and it was right there and you didn't get it. But the indoctrination is so strong. When Bill said that, the woke people were like, oh, yeah, man, listen to what he just said. But the folks who are asleep are probably like, what is he talking about? Closed system, like, what does that mean?
And that's part of the thing that like when people get into this whole tangent, well, what's under the earth?
Yeah.
Do you not understand what I just said? The earth is all there. There's more earth underneath us. That's all it is. It's more dirt.
Yeah.
It's more dirt, more ground, and is there lava? Yeah, there are obviously signs of lava. What's underneath? It just keeps going. But as far as going other
it's not
places,
what they've told us. Yeah. It's not what they've told us, and we're not going to be going any other places. That's the thing. But
yeah.
So yeah. So what are some of the other tech things that you would say? Hey,
we didn't get past one.
No, that's okay. We kind of got off on a tangent, but that's cool, man. I like the freestyle action here.
Yeah. So then I would say audio is more important than video, because we can turn off these cameras right now, and as long as you can hear us clearly and we're making enough sense, that you're gonna stick around for that. But good video and bad audio is terrible. Nobody wants to stick around for that. It doesn't matter how good it looks if you can't hear what the person's saying. So as far as that, I would say really try to understand how to get good audio, like how to use a mic properly. I see people using mics that aren't meant to be talked like how I'm talking here in this direction, and they're meant to be talked in this way, but yet they have it facing. So really what's going down is it doesn't make sense. Like, guys, learn how to use your mics. That's it. Again, that boils down to having good audio, and then presentation, having something that's well produced doesn't have to be great graphics and great intros. It's just having something to say that makes sense so that people can understand it, and you're not going off on these tangents here and there, but you're kind of keeping things where there's a steady flow of it.
Well, like use myself as an example. I mean, for 4 months, Basically, all I was doing was just talking into, a mic and a camera. I mean,
That's
there was no editing, there was no anything, but folks really were able to connect with just the straight up, straightforwardness and sharing things in a clear manner. And that's one thing that people say, hey, I appreciate, man, you speak plainly and you help to make difficult things, you know, clear.
yeah.
But now I'm able to kind of enhance that a little bit and make it a little bit easier for the viewers, because people are very visual, as
Yeah.
and to have some little different elements. I mean, it just makes it nicer and more attractive. And hey, there's nothing wrong with trying to make those things more attractive and more user friendly, because it's just going to bring more people back so that you can have another crack at them with the truth that you're speaking about.
Yeah, that's key. Like, um, that's really like, you don't have to have a whole list. It's just, you know, having patience with yourself. Just because you don't understand something now doesn't mean you won't understand it later.
Yeah.
Um, and don't try to do more than what you're capable of doing unless you have somebody who's there to help you get beyond that.
Yeah, you got to have a safety net.
If Nate was just doing the videos that he just described, where he's not editing, he's not adding intros, he's not doing that, but he's just, here's a camera, I have something to share, that he can run a channel perfectly fine just like that,
Hmm.
you know, and he was doing great with it. It's the same thing with anybody else. Like, if you have something that's worth sharing, then get it out there. Like, you shouldn't let yourself hold yourself back, because a lot of times
Yeah.
that's what happens. A lot of times I don't make videos because I hold myself back.
Yeah.
And that's just something that, I work on here and there, and sometimes I take breaks, sometimes I come back, and sometimes I keep going, but I'm always trying to do something. I'm always trying to figure out how to, so like, I make banners for people here and there,
Yeah.
part of it is because I'm trying to challenge myself to see how I can do something, how I can make
Yeah.
something, you know, I look back like a year from now and I'm like, wow, how much I've improved on certain things. Yeah.
Yeah, speaking of banners, the new Take on the World TV banner was made by Carlos, the one that they're using. And they mentioned in their live stream the other day, they're like, oh man, this is cool. Like, we don't even know Carlos that well, and he's already, helping us out and as they're kicking things off. And so I know they appreciated it. And I thought, man, that's a really sharp banner. So you did a fantastic job on that, man.
Yeah. And that's, again, that's one of those things that's like, when you feel led to do it, you just got to do it. And, when I found out that they're no longer, a part of the umbrella of Now You See TV, obviously I know that they're going to put out good content regardless. So,
Hmm.
I looked, I seen what they had, and I was like, I think I can offer them something better. And again, I don't go around just random, people. I do it for people who I know are putting the time into it.
Yes.
If
Yes.
you're gonna be those someone who's making videos and really grinding and has something good to say, then if I get that knock on that door, on that heart, I just
Yeah.
go make them something. A lot of times, literally, if I could get one or two ideas from the person,
Mm.
I don't have to talk to them. It's just like, I've watched enough of Flat Out Insight, or Take on the World. I've seen enough of their stuff to say, okay, I looked at their logo. It's a TV. Okay, I'll make it
Yeah.
look like an old TV.
Yeah.
And that's how it is. When I saw Nate, obviously he's a pastor, he just got into biblical earth, he's on this road, so I look for a picture of a road, a Bible, and the picture, the dome, and it's like,
Yeah, man.
sometimes it could be just that easy, but it's one of those
It was
things that,
perfect. Yeah, it was perfect. I'm still rocking it, man.
yeah. And it's cool, it's cool. I like to challenge people to take those opportunities, like with OBS and stuff.
Yeah.
I know I learned it, and I want to teach Nate. I didn't want to do it for Nate. I want to teach him so that he
Yeah.
doesn't have to rely on me or be like, man, I need some. He can learn it. I'll be there for him if he ever needs something, but teach him enough that it gets him the ball rolling. And then I told him when I said, listen, it's going to seem more complicated than it is. But once you see what I'm going to show you, you're going to understand it. And then it's not going to be as scary because you realize, it's just like an order thing. That's all a lot of editing is, a lot of graphic design work is just putting things in the right places. And next thing you know, you have this nice presentation. Believe me, there's a lot of stuff I have no clue. And people will probably think, oh, you can probably do that. And I'm like, no, I can't do that. I have to learn how to do it. But I'll try to figure it out, Yeah. And it's just stuff like that. Like good presentation, good audio, having something to say, and having patience in yourself. It'll take you a long way. You might not have the numbers that some people might have. Excuse me.
Yeah.
But someone else might see what you're doing and take it to the next level.
Yeah, that's a good point, because, there have been more and more channels that have started up recently. And, well, one brother that I interviewed, Alan Sherrill, we did part 1 last week, and I just recorded part 2 of his testimony last night, and I'll be doing a premiere of that Friday night at 7 p.m. Eastern, just like we did last week. But I was telling him as we were wrapping up at the end of our video, I told him, I said, dude, you need to start your own channel. I said, he is a encyclopedia of amazing facts about different things, not just flat earth, but all kinds of truth stuff. And I told him, I said, man, you should really consider starting your own channel, because you have knowledge that I don't, and he has a style that's different, than mine. And he has an awesome beard, man. It's like, the thing is like, I don't know, like ZZ Top beard, only it doesn't have gray hairs in it like ZZ Top. But anyway, he was like, yeah, I need to do that. I need to do that. So yeah, so those items are very important, like you said, and if you have those, that'll give you a good foundation, with your YouTube channel. And don't be afraid to reach out to people. Carlos is always willing to help when he has the time, and now that he's taught me some things, as I get more comfortable and those things just become second nature, then I can start helping folks with some of the basics. Because trust me, if I can, if a 46-year-old preacher can learn how to use OBS and do a successful stream, you can do it, because pretty much before, all I really need to know for years and years was Word documents for sermons and lessons, and PowerPoint, the last 10 years or so. So I am not a tech guru by any stretch of the means. If I can do it, you can do it. But like Carlos said, you got to have patience.
It's
and
not going to happen overnight,
stick with it.
For sure.
Exactly.
There might be someone who gets it, God-given gift type, like, oh yeah, this, and you get it in, but that's like, that doesn't happen that often. It takes time. You'll pick one thing up and then you learn that, then it's on to the next thing, and that's all it is. That's all this whole process is. And the key is, we're just trying to share what we've learned. We don't have all the answers, but we have enough of it where we feel comfortable enough to be like, here, this is, I'm not trying to spread no hate. I'm not trying to spread no, gossip and stuff like that. I'm just trying to provide, value and information that will last. Stuff that I wish I would have known earlier, right? But we all have our time. So it's one of those things that I believe that we're really in the middle of something that is humongous,
it's building.
I don't think we really understand how big it is, in the grand scope. Because anytime something happens, it's like it's so amazing how biblical earth can definitely debunk a specific topic.
Or
just really close down an argument. It just can. It literally has just uncovered so many lies that it has helped so many, and that's why it continues. Like, I heard Chad Taylor say this, and I'm in the same boat where, you know, you start doing this for a couple of years, and you could tell when there's someone new because they say all these things that new people say, like the earth
Yeah.
is flat. They'll just type that in the comment section, and they'll, they're gun ho. It's like that new believer who just wants to tell everybody Jesus Christ is the way, the truth, and life. It's that whole
Yeah.
passion.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not there no more. I don't have that. I have that. I don't have
Yeah.
that zeal. I'm like, there's other things I want to get into. I want to talk about.
Sure. Yeah, and there's only so much time. Well, speaking of time, how long have we been going here?
I believe like
About
58 minutes or something like that.
Okay, let's do this. If this is cool with you, I'm going to give a shout out to some of the folks in our
Oh yeah,
chat here.
definitely.
And then while I'm doing the shout outs, if any of you guys have any questions in the chat for Carlos, why don't we kind of wrap up with that and let Carlos answer a few questions. So think of your question. You can start typing them out. And I'll give a shout out to my mods that are in the chat. I know Bowman82 is here. Mark, thanks for tuning in, bro, and helping out. I saw Cat Flat in here from California. Jeannie is in here. She's not always able to catch the chat, so that's cool that she could make it in here. My man Seth Bop. Seth Bop is here. I think I saw a video of Seth Bop eating some kind of like, I don't know, it was a chocolate with like Carolina Reapers or something. And I got to watch that video. I fell asleep before I could watch it, but I'm going to check that out, Seth. Obviously, you're still alive because you're here in the chat. And let's see who else is in here. My daughter Hannah Wolfe popped in for a bit. That's cool. She's great. She's a tough girl. She grew up with 3 older brothers. Chance is in here. Good to see you, man. And let's see who else. Rand Campbell, flat out elected, came in the chat here as well. Good to see Brother Rand. And I'm scrolling down here. Mr. West, my new Indiana friend. And I appreciate Mr. West's support and encouragement greatly. Let's see here. Okay, I'm going to scroll down and see. Uzaru, yeah, Uzaru was in the chat too. I catch him on different channels. Let's see here. If we have any questions, I'm going to scroll down here. They were talking about the dark side of the moon. Let's see. Okay, if I can get this chat to work here. Anybody got... Yeah, it was a Black Reaper, worse than Carolina Reapers, 2 times hotter. Yeah, thanks, Seth. Let's see. Anybody got a question for Carlos before we wrap up our hangouts tonight? I know Carlos has done a really good job of kind of sharing his background and how he came into Flat Earth and other topics, and gave us some great thoughts on tech, some real important foundations. They all fell asleep on us. They may not have a specific question, and that's cool. If you have one, pop it in the chat. While you might be doing that, I'll ask Carlos, is there anything else that you would like to share with everybody?
I mean, just off the top of my head, really, I appreciate people coming out, supporting, guys like Nate and other channels. I appreciate the support that I get from my subscribers. You know what I mean?
Amen. Amen.
I people don't realize, like, you're the reason why a lot of this stuff is being shared. Like, just because a certain video doesn't get a lot of views, or it does get a lot of views, that's happening because people are sharing. The people who are people like the 12, 13, 14 people who coming, are in the live stream right now, or it's stuff like that that helps the community. So you might not have a channel, but just being a part of other people's channels and being vocal and supporting others, being a mod for somebody, being trustworthy and stuff like that, that's all plays a big part in the success of their channel. And some people might not, recognize that and let people know, but I know I'm definitely someone who looks at it and says, thank you for being a part of the community.
Absolutely.
As toxic as it can be at times, there's still a lot of good people out there who are just trying to honestly spread as much good truth as there is out there. And
Yeah, and you make a really good point about the support because not everybody's going to have a YouTube channel. In fact, you know, if the person that gifted me this studio, if they had decided to go ahead with their original thought of having a studio, I probably wouldn't have this awesome studio because they said to themselves, they were already so busy kind of supporting two or three other channels, channels like mine, Celebrate Truth, maybe a few others, and they just decided, like, you know what, they just didn't have the passion to do their own channel, and they realized that I'm so busy supporting other good channels, like that's my ministry, that's
yeah,
my niche. And like you said, the mods, all of the mods that I have are all doing like double, triple, quadruple duty with other channels, big channels, right? I mean, and they're taking the time to come onto my little channel and help me out. And we get just a very few trolls in here occasionally, not many. And part of that is because I'm a small channel, but the other part is because my mods have been so efficient, like nobody gets any traction in here. So they do a fantastic job. I mean, and I know like some of my mods, that's what they do. They enjoy doing that, and they take a lot of their own time, in the evenings, days off, weekends. So yeah, I appreciate everybody, and I appreciate my core folks who seem to come in most times. When I'm live, I see a lot of the same folks,
yeah.
and that's wonderful. So yeah, okay. Well, it looks like we don't have any specific questions. I think you did a really good job of kind of covering who you are, what you're about. What are some of the skills that God has given you that you're trying to use to bless others. And here's a question here, real quick. Seth Bopp, he says, Carlos, what's your thoughts on the Tartarian mud flood issue? Have you heard of that? Have you done any research into that?
Yeah, I definitely have looked into it, and
Cool.
there's obviously a lot of information out there to support what's being talked about. Is it a perfect picture? Yeah. Have we been painted this perfect picture? No. I
It's a
as
good
far
point.
as like, do I support it? Obviously, you look at a lot of this stuff and you see, look at the scriptures and see what
Yeah.
took place in Genesis, Revelation, all throughout the Bible, all the wars and all the, that's the whole thing about Genesis 6 is these wars that took place. And it's obviously a deeper topic that's harder just to be like, um, you know, go into detail, but yeah, there
Yeah.
definitely is a lot to it, and you can't just dismiss it. I know there's people who don't want to talk about it, seem very, um, I don't know, this whole mentality that you have to be scared of topics is
Yeah.
ridiculous. Like, if you're studied up and you have uh, a good foundation and grasp on what reality is, then you can
Yeah.
look at a topic and know if it's true or not. And there's a lot of supporting evidence that shows that mud floods, yeah, there's something to it. We know that this
That's a
world.
good point. I
Yeah.
mean, I've only watched one video on it, because I've been so busy with a lot of other things and I've been putting out a lot of content, but just to watch just to watch that one video, it had to do with a lot of the different historical maps that were being highlighted of the Tartarian Empire. And so, yeah, I mean, to me, I've logged that away as, right now, Nate is not going to spend the big chunk of his time on mud floods because I'm doing other important things.
Hmm.
But there are some people who are putting out some good videos on that. And like you said, it's at the very least, it's interesting and intriguing. It's
Yeah.
not going to bite you.
No, it's
Um,
you have to be able to study things out for yourself. Can't just take the word of people. It doesn't matter how
yes,
good they are, how much like just because Rob Skiba puts out great information doesn't mean I have to accept every little thing he says. I have to test it
yes,
out for myself. And he will tell
amen.
you to do that himself. He's gonna say, don't believe a word I say.
Good
Go
point.
out and test it for yourself. And it's those people who don't and just rely. That's why we believe for this last 500 years that we lived on a
Yeah,
ball because we just thought it was a done deal, solved it. It's
yeah,
been no, like we don't have enough information. There's obviously going to be, there's going to be stumbling blocks put in place so that people get to a point and they're like, I don't want to, this is stupid,
Yeah.
you know, but
True.
it's gonna there. You have to look past it, and that doesn't mean just because you look past it, you're accepting it. You're digging deeper, you're going. And if you feel led to go in there, just be careful because it could take
Yeah.
you to some dark places. You really have to be prayed up. You really have to take the time to know, like, it's like the currency aspect. What do they teach the people who are looking for fake currency? Is the reason why they know it's fake because they know the real currency. They know it so well that
Exactly.
anything else is fake. Anything that
Yeah.
comes aside it doesn't look like the real thing. That's it. And that's what we have to do with
Exactly.
truth. You have to know the truth so well that anything that comes alongside of it, you can be like, no, that's not real. Or,
Yeah.
I never seen this one before. Let me take a look at it. It might have some truth to it, but that doesn't mean it's reality. So you just have to really take
That's
your
a really
time.
good point. We do have to evaluate things, and it's almost kind of like when I don't watch TV anymore, but when I used to watch TV, stuff would pop in and you're like, you have to be ready to change that remote. There might be some stuff you're like, okay, this is not what I thought it was, or it's going down a dark path. You have to use discretion and spiritual discernment. uh but yeah, that's cool. I'm glad that you were able to shed some light on that, because that was a question that at least two folks were asking in the chat. And who would have thought that we would have mentioned the Tartarian, and the mud floods in the chat tonight. That's cool. And I see Michelle just popped on here too. Good to see you, Michelle. We're wrapping up the stream here in just a few minutes, but it's been awesome to have Carlos, because we become closer friends, even though we haven't met in person yet. So I'm sure sometime down the road we'll have a chance to do that, maybe at a conference, or who knows, maybe my family will decide to come visit Florida. We've been talking about Florida for years, but we never made it out there. But yeah, Carlos, do you have any last words you want to share with the folks before we sign off for tonight?
You know, not really. Just thank you for coming along and spending that time with us today. Keep supporting Nate. He's doing a great job. If you guys want to check out my work, just type in Carlos Peguero. It's right there. I'm sure Nate will leave a link or something.
Definitely.
Just know that this is a journey for everybody, and not everyone's going to see eye to eye on certain topics. Stay away from people who try to promote themselves to the degree where it's like that's really the goal. If you'll see it in the community, you'll know who is just someone who's about themselves and not about helping others. And be there for other people who are going to need your support. It could be prayer.
Amen.
It doesn't have to be financial, but a lot of prayer is good. And just encouraging to others is more of does more for the community than sitting there and bashing each other.
Amen.
This whole war within this community, sometimes it just gets overwhelming. Take a break. Take a break from this community. Go do something else and come back. It's
definitely. But yeah, no, that's solid advice. And yeah, I really do appreciate folks' support. I will link Carlos's channel in the description, and then you can go to his channel and get more information. And also, for those of you who don't know, I have a website. It is FiredforTRUTH.org. That's fired, FOR truth.org. And there is a donate button there if you would like to help support my ministry and the immediate needs of my family. Also, there's a contact deal there if you forgot my email or you just want to use that contact form, it goes directly to me. My new email is nate@firedfortruth.org. I'm also on Patreon if you would like to consider maybe some monthly support. That's www.patreon.com Nate Wolfe. And I'll put the link in the description for my P.O. box, not just for those who might want to support through that way, but I get a lot of letters. I've had cool stuff. Just, it's neat. You never know what you're going to get in the mail. And so I always look forward to checking my P.O. box a couple times a week. But I thank everyone for the support. Most importantly, just the encouragement, the prayer support. Thank Carlos for his friendship and all the help he's given me. And I'm sure we'll have Carlos on my channel again, and maybe I'll have a chance to pop on over to Carlos's channel in the future if we have some cool topics to discuss. But yeah, so thank you guys in the chat. We will wrap up for tonight. But I'm sure later this week I'll have some more content coming up. Remember, Friday at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific, I'll be premiering my second part 2 of the testimony sharing by Alan Sherrill. And he's going to share in that as well about how he got fired from a Christian school as a history and science/Bible teacher for just showing the kids, saying, hey, compare what your textbook says to what the Bible says. So I'm really excited to share that second testimony from Alan. But thank you so much, Carlos. I appreciate you, brother. Yeah. Amen.
I got to say that again. I think I was muted.
Yeah.
But shout out to Chad Taylor. He puts out a lot of good work, and he's somebody who you guys should really go support. He's he's really trying to differentiate himself, and he's doing a great job. So go subscribe to Chad Taylor if you haven't already.
Definitely. And you can just look him up, just like Carlos Peguero. You can just look up Chad as Chad Taylor. And he wrote the book, Where Are We? Earth According to the Bible. It's an excellent resource. Check it out. You can go to some of the links through his YouTube. You can find out some other links to his website. But Chad's a great guy. And, Chad and Carlos and myself and others like us, we're all about the same size of channel. And so we're trying as some smaller channels to help support each other. And there are some big channels out there that have been very gracious to help support us over the months. So we appreciate that as well. So we'll end our hangouts for tonight. I've been very excited to be with Carlos Peguero and all of you guys in the chat. I hope that you are well and that your families are well. You guys take care. God bless, and we'll see you again another time.
Thank you.